It's amazing, man. I love it. Are these cassettes or are they CDs?
CDs.
They are CDs. I was going to say,
Yeah.
dude, if you've got like a cassette collection as well, like that is badass.
I do have some somewhere up
Do
the
ya?
back, around the back. Not a huge amount. In fact, there's a weird. Here's a little fun fact. So in here, behind here, and some of these are cassettes on their side, because the shelves are so deep that I don't like how deep the CDs go in.
No way.
So I went to the charity shop and I want all your cassettes, and I bought all the cassettes in this charity shop. Came home and just placed a load along the back of the shelves, just so I can have my CDs sitting how I want them.
The sheer disrespect to those artists that are the cassettes, where you go, yeah, I bought your cassette actually not to listen to, just to prop up the other CDs. Amazing.
Sorry,
man.
Chopin.
Love that.
Oh, dude, I'm so pleased that we're finally getting this done. So for those listening, now this is a what is this? A reschedule of a redo.
Oh, mate, yeah. This has been mad, because the first one as well, I swear we were talking about doing that for ages.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we did the first one so long ago that we were just like, let's just do another.
Let's do another. Yeah, I've got to bring people in. We've had to redo it because we had a massive tech death. Basically.
I wasn't going to say it. I
appreciate that you weren't going to throw us under the bus.
To be fair, like, we were saying so much has changed since that first one that, like, I don't know how much of it was even going to be relevant anymore. Like, so...
Right, exactly.
It kind of works.
Yeah. So, well, I guess the first thing to talk to you about is that we talked about your MBE last time. So I think the listeners probably realise by now there's a podcast out there that they may never hear.
Yeah, dude, I'm really gutted though, because this time I don't get to wear, like, you brought the mayor, I don't know what the official term is, but
the mayoral chain.
Oh, it is just the chain. You brought the mayoral chain, and I got to wear that in the last episode. That is something I am annoyed about, Andy. Like, I really liked that bit about the last episode, but
yeah, I was gutted about that because I came away from that with you thinking, oh yeah, we got a really good one in the bag. I was talking to someone earlier today, and I was saying I'm doing this pod with this guy, and I was listing all of the things that you've done, and I just ended up going, I mean, you fucking name it, he's done it, you know. And so so a load of things have changed for you, and I want to know what they are. So some of this I'm going to be a bit clueless about because you do so much stuff. I don't know what you are doing and what you're not doing anymore.
Me neither.
The first thing I want to ask you is, you got the MBE.
Yeah.
You talked about meeting the Queen and all that stuff last time, and what a trip it was, and how what did she say to you when you've done all right for yourself or something?
She was kind of like. She was very tongue-in-cheek, man. Like, it actually was really quite, like, funny in the sense of, like, when I went up, she was like, you're here for skateboarding? And it was really funny, man. It was almost like she was looking at me like, what are you doing here? But was, like, totally, like, ribbing, not actually being like, oh, get out, peasant. Like, it was very much like she thought it was quite cool. And she was just chatting away about it. Like, yeah, I've had people be like, oh yeah, sure, the Queen was a fan of skating. I'm like, no. I don't think she was actually a fan of, I don't think she's there like bringing out Kareem Campbell's greatest hits on the weekend over a cup of tea. But I think like, it was just, I think it was probably something so different for her that like we actually had like a bit of a chat about skating, and like she was saying, is it good for like young people though? Because like, isn't it quite dangerous? And I was kind of like, yeah, like there is an element of danger, but like at the same time, like I've played rugby, I've done athletics, and I'm like, I've had injuries from all of them. Rugby, I had contact injuries pretty much every single week. Like you go and play a game, and like when you get into like the age of 16, that was kind of where I stopped. But it became very apparent, man, that when you get to that like senior level of rugby, there's probably not a week that you play a game where you come away like injury free. So like, yeah, I was kind of just saying, I was like, it's just part and parcel of any sport. Obviously, there's a bit more contact. But like, she was like, oh, that's really cool, and like saying about going and like there was a guy she wanted to link me up with to go and like speak in Parliament and stuff. And that didn't happen in the end, but I ended up speaking to the guy and he was really sound. But it was just like getting links from the Queen to go and talk about skating in Parliament. I was like, what is going on?
Oh man, that's amazing. And I was going to ask you, because she's passed away now, and she's we've got King Charles the what is it? Is he the second? No, third. What is he?
Oh God, don't do that to me.
What is Charles?
What is he?
It does it. I guess it matters to some.
It does, of course. He's King Charles the Third. To some
third,
people,
I knew this because Charles II was executed, wasn't he? I think he had his head cut off or something.
Mate, your history knowledge is so much better than mine.
I don't. Well, I can't keep up. I can't keep up with the beheadings, if I'm honest. So that must feel quite special that you got yours from such a legendary icon. You know, when she passed away, I'm not going to boast or anything. I don't want to boast or seem sort of glib or anything. When she passed away, I was asked to say a few things for one of our local papers, and I said she was an icon to icons. I mean, that she was
so true.
She was top of the pile, wasn't she? And untouchable in the amount of years that she was on the throne and all this stuff. And it must feel quite special now, knowing that you had that from such a historic icon. It must feel really good.
Yeah, man, fully. Like I totally appreciate like people have different opinions about kind of the royal family and monarchy and government and politics and everything, but I think you're so right that like, man, like she lived, like when you think about everything that she lived through and like, man, the things that she must have seen just change through her life as well around and like the things that she had to like guide a nation through, which of course like the government has kind of become more in control of the day-to-day goings on. But the amount that like she'd be involved in, dude, and it was like the number of engagements she'd have a year, and it was like, it was more engagements than she had days in a week, like, or days in a year, It was mental, man. And she was doing that right up until the end. And I just go, damn, like, yeah, pretty incredible, really, when you look at everything she was involved in along the way. So, yeah, just to have had that moment of going, like, I never thought skating would get me into this room. And, like, I'm literally just, stood chatting to the Queen about skateboarding. Like, yeah, it just felt so surreal, dude. And I was kind of just like, I can kind of hang my board up now. Like, that's it. Do you know what I mean? I'm probably not going to do much else beyond this. So I was like, yeah, it was just an unexpected thing, man. But like a real, like you say, dude, like a real honor. Like, there are other royals that like I've met Harry and I've met Will, and they were before everything had kind of blown up, and Harry was still kind of part of the family in the way he used to be. And they were both really cool. They were both really, really nice. But you're right. It does just feel like a thing to have gone, oh man, like of all the people that could have given me my MBE, it was the Queen at Windsor Castle. Like that's pretty big, So yeah, man, it was cool.
Yeah, no, that's great. It was such a special thing, like such a treasured thing now. It's just, I imagine it's just got so much weight to it. But yeah, I mean, maybe are you the first person who's ever managed to get skateboarding into Buckingham Palace? Are you I don't know any other skateboarders with an MBE or anyone.
I don't know, man. I am the only skateboarder to have an MBE.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. That does feel pretty good. And it'll be cool to see who the next person is, man. Like, yeah, there's some skaters doing some amazing stuff, man, like charitable things and everything. So, yeah, it'd be really cool. Like, I'm sure it will happen again, but it does feel pretty mad to have been the first person. Like, dude, like,
great.
But like, I genuinely, so like, I think we might have talked about this last time, but like, I had no idea I was getting it. So it's not like I like applied or anything like that. It's like you can't apply to receive an honor. Like it has to be nominated. And like I only found out who had nominated me because my parents had been asked for some stuff. And my mum like is the classic. She had loads of newspaper cuttings. So had basically all of this evidence of like stuff I've been doing. Because for anyone that doesn't know, it was all around like basically like getting skate parks built, as well as kind of running skate contests. So I actually, it's how I got into presenting, man. Like in a roundabout way, like I started hosting skate contests from like the age of 15, but doing it for just grassroots skaters, you know, and doing it in Wiltshire where there weren't any contests really happening, getting the skate parks built in Wiltshire, but then also doing loads of stuff with mental health, in kind of action sports, and getting involved with Calm when Calm was kind of like a relatively new charity, which is just like, man, Calm has just blown up now. Like it's so unreal, but they were kind of so hot on trying to do stuff in action sports and approached me. And so it was all of that. It kind of was just an amalgamation of all of those things. And so, yeah, it was just so surreal. Like just had it come through my door, just saying like, we want to give you an MBE. And I'd walked over the mail, like, I'd come back home and I'd walked over the mail, and then Rosie, my partner, had picked it up when she got back from work and was like, "Oh, you fucking walked over the mail again." Like, and then she like gets this one out and she's like, "Why have we got this? Like, what is that?" And I was like, "I don't know. I thought it was the police or something." And nah, it was that. So yeah, totally unexpected.
Did it have like an official looking envelope? Was it a pretty like, ooh, la-di-da thing?
Yeah, was it Cabinet Office that it comes from?
Right.
Was it Cabinet Office? But yeah, it had some crazy like heading on the envelope. Like it was just a brown envelope, but it had some crazy heading, and I just hadn't really clocked it. And I'd like, I can't remember what I thought it was. I think because I'd kind of clocked it, but then I'd just been like, oh, it's probably just like a voting thing or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just a mailer that everyone's got through the door, and then Rosie pulled it out, and it was like, yeah, it was addressed to me, and it was opened it up, and it was like, would you accept an MBE? And I was like, sorry, what? So yeah, so there we go.
MB what?
So that was exactly that, man. So yeah, it's pretty mad, to be honest. But yeah, there we go. I'm happy to fly that flag.
That's amazing. And you said that that early skate park, being part of your local skateboarding community and really investing in the scene and being a part of that was how you got into presenting. I'm trying to figure out how we came across each other. I think a mutual friend of ours messaged me and said, hey, there's this guy, he's doing some really cool bits with skating, and he's doing a skate you were doing the documentary.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember exactly what it is. It was the show I did with the Extreme Sports Channel, and someone recommended your tunes.
Yeah, and I thought, well, all right, a lot of the time you hear these things and you go, oh, nothing will come of that, But I thought, well, it's only a Facebook ad. It's really easy, or just replying to a thread. I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah.
And that was kind of how our sort of relationship began. Was that, you were like, this is sick. This is going on this show, and I just want to say thank you for that, because that
not at all.
At the time, that was mind blowing. It was like, oh, we've done it. We're on telly. We're on TV.
Man,
in a thing.
not at all.
And we wanted to be, part of skate culture.
Yeah.
We grew up playing Tony Hawk's, and found punk. We didn't find some of us found punk rock through Tony Hawk's, but Tony Hawk's really just kind of was legitimized it as like, yeah, this is the soundtrack.
Yeah, man.
And hip hop, of course. But so that was really cool. But then so since we've been hooked up through that, my God, I've just seen you do all kind of BBC, the Radio 1, BBC Introducing. Were you on BBC Wiltshire? Was it Wiltshire?
Yeah, so that's where the BBC. In fact, actually, it's not where the BBC started for me, but it is where the BBC started in terms of radio.
Yeah,
it's kind of a weird, like, roundabout thing that went on. But yeah, basically BBC Radio Wiltshire has been like the home and the hub for like everything I've done. So yeah, big shouts and kind of love to them, because like, I'm sure you can imagine, like a lot of what I'm doing isn't necessarily what you'd think of as kind of local radio output. And like, man, just like the trust they've put in me, and like when, you know, was obviously had kind of doing Radio 1 stuff as like a bit of a goal. I was saying, look, this is kind of what I want to do, is the direction I want to go in. And my boss was literally like, look, okay, within the guidelines of what we can do on local radio, how can we make your show sound as close to something that like Radio 1 would be into as possible? And it was just like just and just having a boss just do that, just go, right, like we believe in you and what you're doing, and we 100% want to be part of that journey, rather than just going, no, this is what we do, like fit in. Like it was. So Mary, my boss then, was just like, man, such a legend, and like, yeah, one of the best bosses I've ever had, man. Just to sit down with me and just be like completely, you can just be completely honest. You can really kind of, because I guess some people as well could be like, oh, well, you think like you're too good for us or whatever. And it's not that at all, man. Like I love local radio so much. And like, yeah, it's such an honor to be part of it. And I kind of want to be a part of it. Even if I drift away in years to come, I'd love to come back to doing stuff with local radio, you know? Like, I just think it's so important. So it's not that at all. It was just like, I really love what you can do at Radio 1, and I've listened to Radio 1 for years, so I'd love to be a part of that as well. And so, yeah, and it was just taken in the best way when I kind of approached that subject. So, yeah, like, love the stuff there. But yeah, that's kind of been the base. And then introducing is obviously the west of England. So that's Bristol, Gloucestershire and Wiltshire we cover with that. So yeah, kind of just got into kind of, the supporting grassroots music side of things through that, which has been sick, man. It's been so good.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing, really, that you've got a boss that goes, I will help you make your show so good that eventually we don't have it anymore.
That's so funny. I never thought of it like that. I'd never thought of it like that.
And that takes like a really special sort of person and a really sort of secure boss in a way, you know, to go, all right, we know what you want to do, and you're quite clearly very, very capable at radio, and you're very, very good at it. And they, you know, they're all. It's like when doctors go, "I don't want to see you again."
Yeah,
you know, it's like it's you know, people, charities say, you know, we want to be so good that we put ourselves out of a job."
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
so, I will let you go and be as brilliant as possible, and then just as you're really, really brilliant, and everyone's tuning into us, I'm going to say bye. See you. Have good luck at Radio 1. That's kind of extraordinary, really,
man.
isn't it?
I'd never really thought of it like that. Yeah, and yeah. So I mean, yeah, dude, it's really, really cool. And I hope that, to be honest, like one day, like there are obviously some changes going on at local radio at the moment, and that's been really prominent actually the week that we're kind of recording this. I don't know when you're planning to put this out, but obviously there were strikes and stuff literally yesterday. But yeah, I would love at some point, like if I do kind of move on and do other things, to be able to actually go to someone like, because we've had to build the show up to what it is. So I kind of had to come in. I came in with a bit of a vision for it, and it was a bit like at first when I was because I was very new. It was kind of like, okay, cool, like that's an exciting idea, but like let's take it step by step. And then like I've just kind of, I guess, built up more trust, which has just been amazing, like I say. And then just have bosses go, actually, yeah, we kind of just believe in you, and you know, like giving me the autonomy and just more freedom and more creativity, which is just, to be honest, has helped me so much, both on air and off air, in terms of just producing things and understanding how things behind the scenes work and stuff like that. But I'd love at some point to then basically be able to hand the reins over to someone else and go, I put in so much work to get this show to this point, and now you just get to walk in and have a great old time. That would be sick. That would honestly be amazing. That would be so good to be able to hand over like a super slick show to someone that gets to walk in and love it. Like that would bring me a lot of happiness. So
give me the THRELFALL list of slick fucking radio show. What's the things for, you know, this? What do you consider to be slick? I consider, you know, good microphone, good presence, good compression, a good bed track.
Yeah.
Don't cut the song. Don't waffle over the end of the song too much.
Yeah.
not an awful lot of like cheesy, cringy kind of like, hey, phone in, tell me what you had for breakfast this morning. I had muesli. Hey, no Alan Partridge stuff. What's your what's the slick guide to radio by James THRELFALL? That's a big question.
But
sorry to put you on the spot,
dude. This completely depends on what kind of radio you're doing, because you can have really slick talk radio. And like talk radio isn't really something I've ever done. Like obviously I do podcasting, but like live talk radio where you can't hide behind music, so to speak. Like that must be daunting as hell, man. Like I've never actually done that, where you just go like, I lift my mic and I'm live for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like that must be insane. But in terms of what I do, man, I think it's just like when I'm approaching a show, it's probably the easiest way for me to kind of talk about how I approach a show and what I want to do in a show. Is kind of just like it's bringing the energy. I want the person listening to feel like the show has lifted them up a little bit, and it's perfect. Like the slot I have at the moment is like Friday night, 6 till 10 p.m. So 6 o'clock on a Friday. Most people are driving home. They've left the office and they're heading home for the weekend. And it's like, I want that to be like, bam, 6 o'clock hits. And it's like, have some of this. Come on. Like, it's a big tune. Like we opened up with Arctic Monkeys, Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor the other day. And it's just like, man, you just want a show opener that's just going to go absolutely slap you in the face. And then just bring in the fun, man. Just like, I'm way too much of a perfectionist in terms of like how I want to sound and the slickness I want in my voice. And actually, when I listen to radio, I have to consciously let go of that, because when I listen to radio, the stuff I love most isn't that polished. Like it is just loose, and it's more conversational. So I have to constantly just be like, dude, just let yourself be free. So I try not to script much. Like I try and give myself points and then talk around the points, where when I was first getting started, I was like, I've got every word written in front of me. And it was like, dude, you need to let go of that. Like, that's not, it's just going to sound robotic. It's not going to, people aren't going to get, and people aren't going to get through to you. Like, it needs to just be like we're chatting now, right? But with energy and, I think that is a huge part of it. The music is a huge part of it, but also just slick production, man. Like it's got to sound cool. Your jingles, your idents, your beds, like you say, like it's the stuff around it that can massively boost what your show is doing, Sorry, that was probably a terrible answer, but
it was great.
A stream of words from the brain.
No, it was cool. I remember I used to have 2 live shows on Froome FM.
I remember.
2 years or so, and just like you were saying, I totally relate. The first show, everything was scripted on like A4 bits of paper with my huge, childish, massive handwriting scrawled all over it. And you think, yes, fine, okay, I'm going to be cool. I've got this great set list that I think it's going to be great. And then as soon as that mic is hot, everything just can evacuate from the brain, and you just go on this. What's up? You listen to Velocity Rock on Froome FM, and you just go, and you just open the tap and go, and that's how I had to do it in the end. If I was trying to script it, and the same when I was the mayor, if I had to script stuff, speeches, I did the Christmas light switch on. I was on the balcony of one of the hotels here in Froome, and I looked down and there was thousands of people waiting for I said, and the lady was like, Rachel was like, you're on in a minute when the samba band stops. And I went, okay, when are they stopping? She was like, when they get to here, because they were marching down through the high street. And they were like 20 meters from it, like they were so close to it. She was like, are you ready? And then I could hear that the mic was already hot in front of me. It was already on. And there was all these thousands of people looking up, and I fucking haven't written anything because I don't want to stand there and go, hello, Froome, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I just had to go, like, just completely wing it, which I obviously knew I was doing, but there's a difference between, I can wing it 2 hours before, and I can wing it with, like, 5,000 people looking at you, or however many people were down there. And you said, Froome, make some noise! And they did.
That's
and I went,
so
oh my
funny,
God.
Man.
Make some noise for this, and they did it. Make some noise for that, and they did. And I thought, right, I can't keep doing the make some noise thing. I'm going to have to gonna have to do some words in a minute. I'm gonna have to have some substance. And luckily, it just came out. On radio mode, it came out. But I just remember, I would just write down the songs and maybe a snippet of information about that song.
Yep.
And then wouldn't even fully read that word for word. Like your brain just kind of, when you're like doing that reading where some of the letters of a word are taken out, but your brain still, scans correctly.
Yeah.
It was almost like I'd just scan over it and it would come out right, but I'd be adding in words, taking out words.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the only way you can do it. It's just got to sound authentic and just in the moment.
Yeah, because there's some stuff for introducing that we will actually script more heavily because
right.
But at the same time, like even when it's heavily scripted, it's now at a point where it's like I might go off on one, like I might just leave the script for a minute and I may never come back. Like, and it's just stuff like that. And I think it's just at first, like, dude, when I was getting started, I was like, I wouldn't do that. I won't leave the script. And it's now like, nah, dude, like there might be something that comes to your brain and you're like, that's so much better than what I've written down, like to talk about. But yeah, like I say, in a lot of instances, I will just bullet point things and it will just be stuff that keeps me on track so that it's like, if I've gone off on one and I'm like, oh, okay, hang on, like, where did I just go there? And then you're like, oh, okay, actually the bullet points can bring me back in. You look over at the sheet of paper and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. This is the next thing. Like, let's have a chat about that. Like, and you can just kind of bring it back in with that and just, you can just get back in the game. If you lose yourself over here a little bit, you can just go, okay, cool, we're back on track. And so I'd say those bullet points are really, useful. Even if you don't use them, it's just knowing they're there just to keep you in check because you can, when you get super chill with it, like when you just get super chill with it and you lift the mic and sometimes, like, man, on Friday nights, there's like this like quite fun tongue-in-cheek like sports quiz that we do on air, and like we have like a real good laugh with it. But like because it's so informal and we have someone like live on air taking it on and we're encouraging people in their cars to do it and stuff, but we're probably like live with our mics for like, it's maybe like 8 minutes that we're just talking consistently for. And in that time, because it's so casual, you do just get to a point where you like forget you're chatting, kind of like we do now. Like, man, we could just be talking like this on, like we just go and have a beer. Like this is, it just so happens we're recording this conversation right now. And yeah, you do just kind of forget that mic is hot, And so just sometimes having those things just to keep you in check and just go, oh yeah, cool, okay, like, I've gone off on one a little bit and this has brought me back into the order of the show. It's just useful, man. I think it's just have those there sometimes.
Yeah, I just used to enjoy having that skeletal thing of just like, that is the generic framework. But then I can't help it, as soon as there's something about live radio as well. There might be, with Freedom FM, there might have been someone's dog listening, or there might have been any number of people listening. You just don't know, but you treat it like, there's 28,000 people living in this town. There's 28,000 people that could be listening to the show right now. And there's an adrenaline to it. And there's something about being live. Like, if I ever had to do, like, a pre-recorded show, I think it would just sound terrible. And I used to embrace things going a bit wrong. And, like, I remember once my mic was hot and a moth flew in my face. I was in the middle of doing something and something flew in my face. And I just said, there's something in my face, and played a song and just kind of got on with it. And there's a spontaneity, and you don't want to lose that or be a slave to stuff. And you also like, you kind of put your own personality on like 10 or 11 or something, It's on, and it's like,
it's a different feel.
I'm Mr. Party. I've got to bring the party to wherever you are,
Yeah,
and I don't walk into a room and be like, Mr. Party's here.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd rather walk into a party and just kind of be like, what's up? And just kind of like keep a low profile and not, be. But on the radio, it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's an accentuation of yourself that you probably, like, dude, you like you say, you never walk into a room like that person. Do you know what I mean? I'm never like, it is like a projection of yourself. It's like you turn your own personality up to 11 a little bit. Like, it's not fake, it's not you, but at the same time, it's like, you're probably never that person off air. Like, it's an interesting thought, man. That is a really interesting point, because I'd never really thought about that. Like, even at a party, you'd never walk into the party and be that person. Like, even though on air, you're like, yeah, I'm bringing the party. It's like, at that party, if it was a real party, you probably wouldn't be like that. Like, no. Yeah, it's an interesting thought, man.
Man, I miss radio. I think about it every day.
Dude,
Every
get back
day
into it.
I might have to. I'll think about it. It was a long time ago now, but there are just times when I'm like, oh God, I'm into. You know when you have a period where you're into like loads of really good music.
Yeah,
and you're like,
yeah.
oh, I just keep finding great stuff at the moment. That's the moment where I'm like, oh, I want to share it with the world. And then I'm like, oh, I used to have a vessel for, this new thing or whatever, and no, I don't anymore. I have thought about it. I think about it every day. At some point, I'll have to scratch the itch.
Yeah, dude. For people that say oh yeah, radio's dead, radio's dying, dude. People, I genuinely believe people look for that taste making. Like exactly what you've just said. Like you've got some amazing tastemakers, and we will always have amazing tastemakers that have a great ear for music, and that is. For me, radio, I just don't see that radio can die for as long as cars have radios in them, right? Like, even if no one had a radio in their homes, which isn't the case, so many people have the radio on in the office because they don't want to have the same old Spotify playlist on, or they get partway through a playlist and there's some rubbish on, and you just go, actually, I just want to put Jordan North and Vic Hope on Radio 1 or whatever it is, And it's always going to have that place, and sure, maybe it is going to be slightly different with you see how much like Radio 1 and stuff share on social media now, like clips of shows and snippets of shows, which is totally the way to go. But dude, for exactly the reasons that you've just said, radio will never die. Like in my opinion, radio will never die. It won't be like it was, but it will never die.
Well, I really hope so. I really, really hope so. Here's some hope for you if you ever feel like it. I work with kids who have special educational needs, and when we take them out to wherever they're going, forest school or some cool little trip somewhere, they know the radio station they want.
Really?
They want Heart.
Really?
They want Heart. They've got a choice in the car. They've got Radio 1. They've got Kiss FM. No, it's Kiss 101, isn't it? Kiss 101?
It's just Kiss now.
Kiss, Radio 1, Greatest Hits Radio. Yeah. Shout out Greatest Hits Radio. and Heart. And they are very passionate. No, I want Radio 1, I want Radio 1. We had Heart on the way, I want Radio 1 on the way back.
That's amazing.
There's one kid, he sits in the middle of the at the back so he can keep an eye on the radio. So there is another generation of kids that they know that even at 11 years old, they know what their station is.
100%, man. 100%.
And that brings me great comfort because, although I'm only 30 years old, sometimes I feel like 50, and and that makes me feel, sometimes it makes me feel like things aren't changing too fast for me to catch up with.
Dude, I'm turning 30 this summer, and I was telling a mate oh yeah, cool, gonna do some stuff for my 30th. And he was like, he's a few years younger. And he was like, oh, dude, are you going to turn 30? He's like, I always just think of you as 25 still. And I was like, mate, thanks. I don't know if that's meant to be a compliment, but it's not. Thank you.
Yeah.
So there we go. 30 this summer, mate. We are aging beasts.
We are. I had to convince someone the other day, who I work with, that I was indeed 30.
Yeah. As in, were older or younger?
Thought I was older. They were like, nah, you're not 30.
That's a good way to be. This is the good way. This friend of mine was like, no, I thought you were 25. You're well old.
I was like, no, I'm 30. And they're like, you're not 30. And I was like, I am only 30, thank you. And this person's related to me somehow. That just makes it a little
That's so funny, man. That's so good. So good.
As your nan's sister or something said something about me before, I don't know, shut up. But yeah. So, yeah, awesome. How do you feel about aging? Do you feel good?
I don't know, man. Are you
scared of the 3-0? Are you scared of it?
I'm not that scared of it. I don't think. Maybe I am. I don't know.
I wasn't. I felt pretty good.
Yeah.
I felt like, okay, you only got one stretch of 20 to 30.
Yeah.
And I felt like I didn't waste it.
Yeah, nice.
I felt like I did. I didn't feel like I squandered it. Maybe the first couple of years of the 20s, I was in party mode a bit still. But for most of it, the majority of it, I feel like, I did some cool stuff and 30 came along and I was like, what's up, 30?
Yeah, man. I like that. I think
think
that's good. I think if you feel like you've accomplished stuff in your 20s, that's cool. But I feel like it's just cool that like nowadays there is just more acceptance of like, man, you can figure stuff out. You can change your career, you can change your path like whenever you want. Like, and I think that's so cool that like we're part of, and we shouldn't take for granted, like part of a generation that, okay, yeah, we're probably the most economically challenged generation that there has been for some time. But at the same time, we are part of a generation where it is much more accepted that you can still be like finding yourself at 30 and you don't have to have it all figured out and you can still be exploring and trying to figure out what's next. Like, I think that's sick. So I don't feel like 30 is coming around as in like, oh my God, like 30's looming. I feel like I'm well old. I feel like I'm not going to be able to do the things I want to do. But there's things I haven't achieved yet that I want to achieve. But then there's also things that I've achieved that like I hadn't even set my sights on or hadn't even thought about trying to do in my 20s. So I'm kind of like, I'm pretty bad at going like, I have this goal and I have this dream over here and this is exactly what I want to do. And like, I'm pretty bad at like, okay, that isn't exactly what's happened. And so I'm like, I feel like I haven't quite done what I was meant to do. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, we talked about the MBE. Like there was no part of me that set out that like, oh, I'm gonna do that or whatever, like there was no part of me that thought that was a bit of the journey. But like, so I think, yeah, it's cool, man. Like, I'm just excited to get into the next decade, like see what happens.
Great. That's great to not be scared of 30 and be. I embraced it. I thought, I don't want to dwell on being 30 too long, but I embraced it. I thought, yeah, I haven't messed my 20s up. I've been really lucky. I've had loads of opportunities. I'm really privileged. I've got, the world is my oyster, and I felt just great that I didn't squander it or do nothing or whatever. I never thought I'd be the mayor of anywhere.
Yeah, dude.
You've just been to, where were you? Beautiful Munich.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Oh man, it's been it's been a crazy start. It's been a crazy start to the year. Like 433. I'm doing a lot of work with, which is wicked, man. As like the British host for them. So for anyone that doesn't know, like 433 is the biggest football platform in the world. Like the numbers that, man, what are things on now? It's like, we're in a group chat and it's like they update every time there's a new 100,000 followers. And dude, it's like every few days. What
is it?
When I started 18 months ago, right? Roughly.
Yeah.
And 433 had just hit 37 million followers on Instagram, which you go, that is solid. In that 18 months, they have become 61.3 million followers on Instagram.
Oh, goodness.
And dude, it's just obscene numbers. Like, it's unbelievable. And it's like, it's up there as, like, I'm pretty sure because of the, like, engagement that 433 gets and the amount of posts that they will do through the day. Because it's kind of like, it's a news site, but also it's a content creation like outlet. Like there's so much that 433 are posting about in any one day. They're doing all the match coverage. They've got behind the scenes stuff. They'll also, of course, be like reposting big clips from things from players and things like that. So there's a lot that gets posted in any one day. So 433 is like up there with the biggest Instagram accounts in the world, full stop, outside of football. Yeah. Just as like one of their numbers that they're doing every month are just insane. So yeah, it's what
was that number again?
61.3, I think it was. I just said 61.3 million followers on Instagram. Mental. So yeah, dude, like I'm doing a lot of hosting with them. We're out at the World Cup. Did a lot of the Euros as well, but then just doing lots of match takeovers. So the other day I was covering Bayern Munich PSG. So we did both legs of that. So I'd been in Paris, where we got some amazing pitch side seats, man. That was really cool. And then the other day we were in Munich on the return leg. Munich seeing themselves through in the Champions League. But yeah, it's wicked, man. It's so cool. And it's so different, dude. Like, I feel like you just, even 5-10 years ago, you'd be like, there's no way. Like, we're doing literally match coverage. And the whole idea of 433 is like that it's for the fans and it's in with the fans. It's not like, oh, we're off having these real mental VIP experiences. Obviously the pitch side seats were quite cool, but that was kind of part of a promotion. It's like we are in the stands with the fans, and it's not high production for those takeovers. Some things we do, of course, are high production, like World Cup, we had a studio and stuff like that. But we are literally just filming on phones. And it's going out to 60 million people. So we're in there just talking to camera, man. And it's literally, the whole idea is that we are just at the game. We are doing exactly what everyone else in the crowd is doing, you know?
Right.
So yeah, it's really cool, man. But it just feels insane that you're like, we have a massive global audience and I'm just talking to an iPhone. Like, what the hell? It just feels like, yeah, it's so mad. Like, but yeah, it's sick, dude. It's so much fun. Like, I absolutely love it. Yeah, it's a really, really cool thing to be a part of.
So how did it build such, because that's, I imagine after 10 million, maybe, let's say, for argument's sake, things just steamroll.
Yeah.
You know, and engagement begets engagement, and reach begets reach, and then it becomes an unstoppable monster, which it
exactly
is. What do you think is, what's the? I mean, again, you talked about your radio thing, and I've gone, give me the THRELFALL list of slick radio stuff. You know, what do you think is the secret sauce for is it 433?
Yeah, 433.
I keep saying 442 or other stuff.
Exactly.
I'm not a big football guy.
No, 100%. No, I get it. But I think it's kind of what I was just saying about, like, I think it's that fan perspective. So it's not we're disconnected from the fans and going, you know, it's like we are in the mix, and it's like, you know, like the amount of times that we get approached and it's like people being like not necessarily knowing my name, but coming up at the Munich game, someone came and asked for pictures, but they just come up and they go, oh, 433. And they're just like, oh yeah, we've been following your stories. We see the stuff that you do. And they just like, it's just like, we are just in the mix. We aren't off in like some studio somewhere. And so I think it probably just feels real, man. And like, I'm sure, you know, the guys that work for Sky Sports and stuff, of course they're football fans. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's just like, everyone I work with at 433 just genuinely loves football and is just hyped to be involved and doing the things that we're doing. And it's like, yeah, I think it's just kind of real and authentic, but also, yeah, it's like you say, you kind of snowball, you start to get more access to big players. So of course you get more following. It's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in the end, where it's just this spiral of growing following that's just absolutely mental. And then you become the platform that everyone needs to follow. And it's like, oh, you start getting into football and it's like, you probably get suggested to follow 433 when you're liking a few football things on Instagram and stuff. So it's just, I think it probably just goes like that, man. But I really like that. That's kind of like that is kind of like the big thing. I think as well though, with 433, it's like, for so many media outlets, Instagram isn't like the main place. It's like Instagram will be the place that you post highlights of your like TV coverage or whatever, where it's like 433, it's like Instagram and the 433 app is like, you know, it's all digital, it's all online. It's not like, oh, we're on like, you know, Sky or whatever. It's like, no, it's like, get on Instagram and it's there, like, you know? And I think that's probably one of the main things for people, that it's like, yeah, cool. It's like that is the place the content is posted. So yeah, it's wicked, man. It's honestly, it's mental. It's a mental thing to be a part of.
How did that come about then? So I'm guessing it's something off the back of like, I don't want to be like, I'm not like, how did you get your job?
No. I'm laughing because it's actually quite a funny story, man. Like,
also like, how did you get that job? Yeah. Like, you know, like, is it like the BBC thing? Obviously, you put BBC on your resume, and you know, that's a gold standard, isn't it? You know, any affiliation with the BBC in a broadcast sense, they're the gold standard, aren't they? So I imagine that helps a lot. But these things are probably who you know as well. And as you said, I think you jumped on it a pretty good time for them. And
yeah. It was honestly, it's a really funny story. So like, yeah, I've been like, you talk about the BBC. I've been really lucky to obviously, so done all the radio side of things as well. But you know, I've done bits with BBC Sounds, with BBC Three, with BBC Sport. Like, I've had the chance to kind of get stuck in a lot of different places, which has been honestly like incredible. And that all, without a shadow of a doubt, helped, I'm sure. But actually, it was a competition. like 433, getting the job as host. It was something they advertised on socials, and a friend of mine saw it and was like, dude, you should get in here. Like, you should try. And I was like, man, they've got a mental following. And I was kind of just like, for me, I am a football fan. Like, I'm a fan of Tottenham Hotspur. It's very painful. But like I do enjoy watching football. But have I played football to a high standard? No.
Right.
And do I, I don't get into like the intricacies of the game. Like when I saw it, I was like, dude, I'm not like an expert of football. I really, really enjoy going and watching football. I really enjoy being part of the game. And I enjoy getting around with friends and watching a game. And especially when, dude, like as a Spurs fan, like watching the North London derby with my mate Nico, who is an Arsenal fan, it's like, it's going to be painful for one of us. And that like experience is like, as much as it sucks if you're the one that's losing, it's like, man, it's just so fun that there's something that you're that invested in and you can come together as mates. So I love that side of football. And it was basically, when it was advertised, I was like looking into it, and it was like, it then was saying about, we're all about the positivity of football. We're all about the fan experience. And I was like, maybe I could do this.
Yeah.
Like, if they're not looking for like people to break down the game and like get real, like technically into like the statistics and formations and plays. And I'm like, cause that's not me, but I'm like, I can go to a game and have a good time and like convey that. And so, yeah, I kind of didn't think too much of it because I thought there was just going to be mad competition. I probably wouldn't get it, but I was like, okay, I've seen enough to know that I should throw my hat in the ring. I had my show reel anyway, so I was like, what have I got to lose? And it was just like a little thing to fill out online, and just explained about being a Spurs fan and, the local sports bar that I watch a lot of the games at and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And got a thing set, and I was in the final 8, and I was like, you're having a laugh. You're absolutely having a laugh. And then, I did. What else did I have to do? I then, I think I had to film like a video for the fans then. And there was a bit of a voting thing. And then I went to the Final Four, and we had to do like a takeover of, it was Villarreal versus Man United. Was it Europa League? But it was the finals anyway, and Villarreal won, and it went to pens, and the goalkeepers took pens. It was incredible. It was like a real good game to actually do a takeover of, but we did it from home, and it was, again, I got my mate Nico involved, and we kind of like made a bit of a thing of like, we're used to being rivals, so like,
right,
we haven't got any kind of like allegiance to either of the teams, but we're used to being rivals. So when he arrived at my house, like I filmed him picking a name out the hat and stuff. So we just supported whichever team we got. I got Villarreal, he got Man United. And so, we went to the supermarket, and like I picked up some Spanish beer, and he picked up some terrible, like cheap English beer. We just like really played on it. Like I got to have like paella, and he had like the like basic sausage and mash. Like we just kind of had fun with that. And then he like burnt it, like set it alight in my oven, which was hilarious. So we just had all of this going alongside the game, and then they came back after, and they were like, dude, you've got it. And it was like, oh, dude, I got it because like there was funny stuff where we set like sausage and mash alight. Like, this is my kind of gig. I was like, this sounds great. Like, and it's so like that, man. Like the other day in Munich, we were out, like we went to a bar, and like, it was part of the experience. It was paid for by Just Eat. Like they were the partner with us. And they wanted to take us to this really cool restaurant in Munich. And we went in there, man, and it was like, the guys couldn't have been more hyped to have us there. They were big 433 fans, but they were like, dude, hooking us up with the best Apfelstrudel. And like, we had some mental plates of meat, dude. Like, and then it was like getting beers, but we were also, they just sat us at a table with a load of Bayern Munich fans, and they could not have been more friendly, man. Like, we're just hanging out, and I'm like, this is what, like, I'd rather be doing this, like, than, have it trying to be someone I'm not and break down play and be like, oh, they should have made a run through there and put a ball through to him on the break. And like, I'm like, that's not me. Like, I want to just go, I'm in with the fans. We're at this amazing bar. Like, we're having a really good time. And this is what football's about. So that's kind of what we do with 433, man. It's sick. It's so good.
Who was in that Final Four with you? Did you know? Did you have any idea?
I actually follow a couple of them. Yeah, there's someone who's doing a lot with. Is she doing a lot with European athletics? And then there was someone who was like, he was actually a really good footballer, I think. But he yeah, he was. I think he just kind of had a shot at doing some bits. Like he put together like a bit of a demo of him presenting, and yeah, was really solid. But yeah, so I like, dude, like I say, even at that Final Four, I was like, I'm not necessarily expecting to get this, and then did, and I was just like, geez, wow, okay, cool, let's go. And it was like I was meant to have, or I was told I was going to have an interview. So, dude, I like prepped all of this stuff, all of these notes, all these things I might say, all these things I'd suggest that we could do. And went on the call, and like the guy that I was on with was like, we had a little chat at the start, and then I was expecting the questions to start, and then he was just like, so the Euros are coming up, which days can you do? And I was like, oh, great. Like, I've spent hours on this stuff, man. Like, I've spent hours putting all this stuff together. And he's just like, yeah, get your calendar up. Let's get you booked in. And I was like, oh, damn. But it was a real baptism of fire, man, because it was during COVID. And so we're on the reduced capacity stadiums for the Euros, but they couldn't fly anyone in. They could, because there was all of the... I think it was the quarantining times. And I think at some points, like the borders were just closed. So it was like you could, like the teams were allowed to be here, but it was like you couldn't fly in as fans and stuff. So like, dude, I got the gig, and like usually there's someone filming with me that has like a bit of a shot list and stuff of things that we want to get and things we need to do. And they were just like, yeah, just get in there and you're just going to have to go selfie on everything. And it was like, okay, like I've literally just started the job, and I'm now at Wembley. Like, yeah, just trying to.
And they've gone, just do through selfies. And did you feel like, no, I need, give me some actual direction?
Not really, man. I kind of like that, right? Like, and not to kind
use
of
your initiative,
not to segue too much, but like with that, I've just kind of started getting involved with F1 Arcade, which is wicked, and like I'm a massive F1 fan, man, and like hyped to be getting in there. But like similarly, the first race that we were covering the other day, there like was a bit of a brief, but not too much. And sometimes that's the best, dude. Like sometimes that is the best. When you know what you need to do and you know what you should get from it, but equally it's not like you've got a tick list. You need to do this. You must do this. You must do that. When it's like, look, we know what the end product is roughly like. Like we know we want to include these kinds of things, but ultimately be yourself and just make it great. Like that is the best, man. That is the best. Yeah. It's like you must know with music. You must know with music. Like, sorry, dude. You like when you're writing, when you guys are writing tunes, you probably start in one place. You hear this all the time. Like you start in one place with the track, and it ends up somewhere totally different. But if you stuck to your guns, like, and just been like, no, it must be like we originally planned, like, it probably wouldn't be as good a tune. Yeah,
I was going to liken it to radio. Again, it's the radio thing, isn't it? If you micromanage it. It's gonna be shit. Yeah. It's gonna feel robotic and inauthentic. Are you seeing? I do want to talk about the F1, and then I want to talk about that podcast of yours, and then I think we're good. I think we'll probably get kicked off of Zoom. But do you see 433 influencing traditional media and how they're doing their sports coverage now? Are you looking at stuff from
really
maybe
good question.
Sky Sports or dare I say Match of the Day, and you're going, we did that 6 months ago. That's like our thing. You know?
I wouldn't say I've seen anything like where I'm like, they've ripped us off. But like you definitely see the way things are changing. I don't know if that's necessarily people going, oh my God, like 433 are doing this, or if they're just going, it's the way the world is. Like I was saying about like Radio 1, and you go, you know, the amount that they're putting into social media now, because it's where everyone is. Like, you know, I was thinking just the other day, I was talking to someone about this, like, you know, I was listening to Greg James in the morning, really enjoyed Greg James's show. But I was on the way to and from the gym, and I picked up some bits. And later on in the morning, he had a guest on that I wasn't listening for. But then I saw it on Instagram, and I watched the video, and I liked it. And I'm like, so you have still picked up the show at a different point. So I think in a similar way with football and like Match of the Day X, they're doing some quite cool challengey things that aren't just like, oh, let's look at this, you know, like game and talk about it. It's like, you know, which is important. And like, you know, lots of people do want to see that. But at the same time, like the stuff I love with 433 is like we will do hilarious stuff, like sitting down with Ian Wright, and we just fired as many questions at him as we could in 60 seconds. And like, yeah, he was an absolute legend. And then like we do stuff where we're doing like the like the first touch challenge where you stood on a table and it's like throw a ball at you and you've got to just literally have one touch of the ball and just try and keep the ball on the table. If it goes off the table, you're out. And it's like, we'll have someone come in like when we were at the World Cup, we'd have people come into the studio that were like massive names, and it's like, oh, cool, so what am I doing today? And it's like, yeah, you're just standing on this table and doing the first touch challenge, mate. And it's like, it's so funny, dude. It's really funny. Like Kevin Peterson, cricket legend, came in. And I can't remember exactly what it was we did with him, but I was like, this is gold. Because like, we haven't gone, oh my God, we've got Kevin Peterson in, we need to interview him about his career. It's like, get him in and it's just have a laugh with him. Like, let's do some bits with him because that's what social media want. Like, if you're a fan of Kevin Peterson, you've probably heard him talk about, cricket 1,000 times. So let's do something a little bit different. So yeah, I think there is a bit of a move to do that kind of stuff, and people just understanding that is what is done on social media more. But yeah, maybe some influence from 433, I'm sure. But yeah, I wouldn't ever want to go, oh yeah, they're all following us.
Well, yeah, I'm not in a position to say whether they are or not, but when something like that comes along and people keep an eye on these things. You start getting millions and millions. The mainstream, the main traditional media, all that, they keep an eye on that stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
And when they see something like what you're up to, getting the engagement and the popularity and the growth that you're getting, then they react to it, and it's a reactive space, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
That's no bad thing. Competition is good. It breeds a lot of. It's just good if you're passionate about the thing.
Yeah,
you want it to have competition because everyone wins then.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the fans definitely win.
Yeah.
Tell me about F1 Arcade. It's another sport that I don't watch or know much about.
You should watch it. It's it's so much fun, man. And actually, the thing I sometimes find overwhelming about football is like, and dude, I don't know how some of the guys at 433 do this. Like, I'm definitely bad for being like, I'm an English football fan, and we have arguably the biggest league in the world in the Premier League. And I'm just so Premier League centric in my following of football, where like so 433 is based in Amsterdam. And so lots of the guys that work there are European. It's like a super diverse team of people from all over. It's really, really cool. But they follow so much football, and you've got this league with like 20 teams in, and they know pretty much like 80% of the players and what they're up to. And you just go, dude, how are you keeping tabs on this many people? So I quite like with 433, man, just being like educated by a lot of the guys that are way more knowledgeable about football than I am. But the great thing about Formula One, dude, is there's 10 teams and there's 20 drivers. And so if you want to get into F1, there isn't like, there's only so few like that. It is kind of like, what's the word? I don't want to say like, critiqued, but it is like, it's acknowledged that, F1, there's very few shots. Like, you can be incredible in motorsports, and some people that have absolutely deserved a seat in F1, it just hasn't worked out for them because there's so few seats that you can get into. But from a fan perspective, if you're looking to get into a sport, F1 is great because you've just got 20 people that you need to know about and 10 teams that you need to follow. So yeah, I like, it's been something that I've got into more latterly. I can't remember, maybe like 2015, I kind of started following F1, and it's just grown and grown as a real passion. Right. We've had some good juicy seasons. And dude, it's just an exciting sport. Like they've worked really hard to make it a spectacle and make it exciting and make like Grand Prix are wild. Like, they're just the sickest events. I've never actually been to one, dude. Like, because Silverstone, it's just never worked out for me because tickets go like that and they're like, £1 million. But it's like, but I'm like, I've never actually been. So I've always been like a viewer from home. But then F1 Arcade's kind of come along, which is this insane thing in St. Paul's in London. Like, literally St. Paul's, out the window, it is like all you can see. It's just over the road. They've got 60 racing simulators and the place is absolutely pimped. Like, you go in, and if you are an F1 fan, like, you don't have to be an F1 fan. You walk in and go, oh my gosh. But if you're an F1 fan, you walk in and you go, this is literally the dream. Like, this is the best place I've ever been. It's like, super bougie bar, really great kind of decor. You've got like lights that are racing tracks and the light goes round as if it's like a simulation of a car. And then you've just got the most pimped, like 60 absolutely pimped racing simulators that, you can sit in and race your mates on. And it's mental, man. And on race day, basically, we're doing like watch parties there. So I've been hosting those. I was hosting a panel with Jodie Kidd the other day, who is TV presenter, model, racing driver herself, and Max Chilton as well, who used to be an F1 driver for Marussia, which now is Haas, is basically, the current team. It's kind of changed hands a couple of times. And he was in, I think it was the 2020 12 to 13 and then 13 to 14 seasons. But yeah, and we did a panel there and then got out in the crowd. It's like, dude, 700 people in a room, all F1 fans, and the atmosphere is wild, man. Like, you get a tense moment and everyone's like, and the room's just like erupting. And it's like, dude, I'm used to seeing this with football. Like, I'm not used to experiencing rooms full of people like this in F1. Yeah, it's really exciting, man. It's an amazing place to be, and like I'm just stoked to be in there doing that. So we're hosting those kind of parties, but then also like working on content and stuff as well. So there's some content that's in the works that's all coming together. So we should be doing some really cool digital stuff there as well, which is wicked. It feels like kind of the space like where F1, I guess, can, again, kind of like football, it can almost, I'm trying to think of a word that isn't disrespectful, because I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's like, you know, you can get very into the nerdy side of F1 on TV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that. But as a presenter, I'm like you, man. Like, I really enjoy having a lot of fun with presenting. And it feels like F1 Arcade is a place where we can have a lot of fun, man. Like, it feels like we can, you know, you've got racing simulators. It's like I say, it's in an amazing bar. It just feels like the setting to have a lot of fun and like get a little bit wild with some of the content and do some really, really great things that we might not be able to do elsewhere. So yeah, it's sick, man.
So I'm going to go for another THRELFALL list, right?
Okay.
What's, and then we're going to talk about the podcast, and then we're good, I think.
Yeah.
What makes a juicy season?
Oh, dude, like the season before last with Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, which was documented everywhere. Man, you've just got two cars that are really competitive at the front of the field. And it was just great. That rivalry between the two of them was just unbelievable. And it was just from one race to the next. You had no idea who was going to be coming out on top. And, you know, I'm quite a Lewis Hamilton fan. I'm quite a Mercedes fan. But even though he didn't win that season, and there's a lot of controversy around how Max Verstappen won the season, which I won't get into because it's been documented heavily, that was a damn exciting season. As much as I personally wanted Lewis to win, man, that was the most exciting season I've experienced yet as an F1 fan. Because there's been seasons where Lewis Hamilton's run away with it and you just go, he's won again. Like, do you know what I mean? And Max Verstappen's almost getting into that season. And you know, as a Lewis fan, you're going, oh, really happy for Lewis. But at the same time, you're going, well, the excitement of this race is going to be further back because there's, you know, Lewis is off in the distance. So actually seeing a season where Max and Lewis were toe to toe like they were was, oh man, it was phenomenal. So I think that's it. It's just when the teams are kind of close, and with some of the regulation changes that they've brought in with the cars and the cost caps and stuff like that. It's basically trying to bring the cars closer together to make sure that is a consistent feature, that, you know, teams aren't just running away with it, and but although Red Bull look like they're doing it right now, they've started the season and Max Verstappen like literally was just off in the distance, and he was so far ahead that the team were just managing his lap times. They were just like, slow it down a little bit, mate. Like, we don't need to push the car this hard. And you just go, dude, that's the first race of the season, and you're going, it's in the bag. Like, you're 38 seconds ahead of anyone else, and you just go, just manage the lap times, mate. It's all good. We don't need to risk anything. We don't need to push the car harder than we need to push it. Like so that is what makes an exciting season, I think, when you've got a tense rivalry like that, and, you know, it's chopping and changing, and, you know, every point counts. You know, like you have a DNF in a race, you don't finish that race, and it's like, is that going to decide the championship? Like, you know, or even you have a bad pit stop and you end up, rather than being up in the top two, you're down in seventh, and you go, are those points going to make the difference? Like, it's wild, dude. So yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time to be in F1. Mercedes are having a bad patch at the moment, but yeah, Max Verstappen, man, is just incredible to watch. Like, yeah, he's a genuinely insane driver. So he's probably going to win this season. Can tell already, and we've only had one race so far. So yeah.
Amazing. I don't know much about F1, but I know 38 seconds is.
Oh yeah,
it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
When they're shaving it's all like shaving a tenth of a second off of here and there, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
38 is God mode.
Yeah, unbelievable. Like the thing to watch if you're not an F1 fan is Drive to Survive on Netflix, which gets a mixed rap in the F1 scene because there is a lot of. They create a lot of drama, and like in the last season, there was a whole joke around like Toto Wolff, who's the boss of Mercedes. They said to him about, oh, we're making a documentary, and he's like, this isn't a documentary, because he's like joking about how much is potentially twisted or definitely twisted for cameras, rivalries created for the show that definitely don't exist in real life. So it's definitely really good to get into how exciting F1 can be, and it's a really good entry point, but definitely take it with a pinch of salt. It will get you fired up, though, and you will want to watch a race if you watch it. So
Nice. Well, my connection to F1 is that Jenson Button is from Frome.
Yeah.
Grew up in Frome. And there was the moment I knew Frome was cool was I was spending a lot of time in Bath at the time with studying music, so I wasn't really in Frome an awful lot.
Yeah.
And that's one of the rare times I was kind of back for some amount of time. We had our Christmas extravaganza, and he came to Frome in an F1 car and teared it up and down the high street.
Love that.
And I thought, yeah, Froome's getting pretty cool now. And it wasn't even like the main one. It was like a slightly smaller version of what he actually drives. And it's so loud.
Oh, unbelievable, isn't it?
Vroom, vroom, all up in the donut.
So good.
And they had to. I was chatting to a guy in the summer who did the health and safety for it. He also does the health and safety for he did the health and safety for The Wall for Pink Floyd and stuff.
No way.
And Phil Collins. Shout out. I think it's Herb. Shout out Herb.
Legend.
And
what
he was telling me that, yeah, he's a great dude. He was telling me like that day they were like, oh my God, the manhole covers, that thing is going to just suck them up. Like from the speed, I don't know, some sort of science
the downforce,
thing.
of the car.
The downforce.
Yeah.
So the town council had to like quickly authorize someone to come and weld them down just for the night.
No way.
Get them back
That's
up the
mad.
Next day.
Fair play. Well done for thinking of that though, geez. Like you've got to think of everything, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, there's hilariously, I did a talk at Frome College once. And it was, I can't remember, it was some awards thing. And yeah, they invited me down. And at the end, they were like, oh, that was really good. That's one of the best talks we've had. And I was like, jokingly, oh, who was better then? And they were like, Jenson Button. And I was like, I concede to that, fair play. Oh, I was like... I'll be in with the rest. I'll be in with the rest after Jenson Button. Like, there's no way I'm delivering a talk as good as he is. So yeah, fair play. That was a very good name that they could drop.
Yeah, man, that's cool. I've got his autograph somewhere. I've got one complete autograph and one where he stuck the pen through the page. From when I was like, he came to my school when I was like, I don't know, 10 or I don't know how old I was, young.
Love it, man.
And yeah, that was cool. Okay, so we've got a few minutes left.
Yes.
The Ultimate Party podcast.
Yes.
Can you sum it up in 5 minutes?
Dude,
Can it be summed up?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, basically, in a nutshell, we get celebrities on a different celebrity every single episode to fantasize about how the party of their wildest dreams would go down if they had an unlimited budget to make it happen. So yeah. We've had some amazing guests, man. We've had like Sean Walsh, we've had Jodie Harsh, we've had like, man, yeah, let me go back through for you, man. Like it's been wild. We've just launched, we're about to launch, based on dependent on when this comes out, the second season. So we had the Wombats, Nina Nesbitt, on at the end of last season. We have Phil Taggart as well, which is amazing, having kind of grown up listening to Phil Taggart. But we've just had for season 2 Everything on. John joined us, who is just the most incredible vocalist. Like, I don't know if you are a fan of Everything, Andy, but man, their music is just wild, and he's such a unique vocalist. And he came on, and I won't spoil it if you haven't listened to it, but yeah, there's a wild theme that he goes for. But it's just really cool, man. Like, I just think, like, I thought it would be the case, but it's been confirmed that you just find out about so much about someone by finding out the ultimate way they would let their hair down.
Right.
And like
so telling.
Yeah, it's so telling, dude. Like the wild things that they would want to do to kind of like get together with their friends and just have it. Like, if you could have the biggest party of your life where you look back and you go, that was the best party I ever had. Like, yeah, I just think it tells so much about people. And now in season 2, we're basically... In season 1, we were Spotify exclusive because we would insert the songs into the episodes, because we'd get 6 tracks. As well as asking 6 main questions, there'd be a lot more conversation than the 6 main questions that we asked. Basically, the 6 main questions to shape your party. So like, where's it going down? What's your theme? Your food and drink? Who's your guest? You have one headliner, one artist that can perform for your guests. Who are you picking? So all of that kind of stuff. Right. We also get 6 songs from every guest as well that would be in their party playlist. We used to insert them into the episodes because Spotify gives you a little tool where, you know, it can literally, you can put the song in and it counts as a Spotify stream. So it's all completely above board.
Right.
But it meant that we couldn't be on other platforms. So season 2 switched up the format. Our main episode is the party planning episode now, so we're on all platforms with that one, and then we do a little bonus episode with every guest as well for Spotify only, where you now get the 6 tracks with just a bit of a talk around it, and each person kind of introduces the songs and says why they'd be played at their ultimate party. Right. So man, like, it's sick. I love it, and it's so cool to just do something. I'm sure this with the podcast, man. It's just so cool to do something so independent that you can just go, this is exactly as we want it to be, man. Like, I team up with my mate Lou on it, who's an incredible kind of like music producer, sound engineer as well. Like, he kind of produces all the audio for it. And dude, like, it's just a really nice thing that we can do together. And we've got to have some guests on that, like, I've been like, how have we had the Wombats on, man? Like, I grew up listening to the Wombats, and Dan just joined us and threw a street food party in Liverpool where David Attenborough is dressed as someone from Up. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, dude, it's just unbelievable. Like, it's just stuff that you don't expect. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. Like, yeah, if anyone listening wants to go and get stuck into it, I would absolutely, we'd love to put you on the guest list for the parties.
Yes.
So, yeah. There we go.
Nice, man. Well, that's the Ultimate Party podcast. Yeah. Just quickly, who's the one that shocked you the most?
Oh my god!
When you went, damn, you're wild. Well, I didn't have you down as that. So wild.
everything was definitely John. The other day really did shock. I'll give a little bit of a spoiler, but I won't give too much away in case anyone does want to go and listen to it. But he basically holds a party at a Mayan pyramid, and there's human sacrifices. So it gets very wild. Yeah. It gets very loose. And then, dude, the Sad Night Dynamite guys, who are wild again, absolutely insane. They're blowing up at the moment. They're doing such good things. But their party, oh man, I can't remember. It was in like the Scottish Highlands in a bar. There's like centaurs walking around. What were they saying? There was dude, it got so insane. It got so insane. Like, I can't like, yeah, just go and listen to it and you will hear the madness that ensued with their ultimate party. Like, there's some that are really wild and some that are just really nice. And you're like, that sounds like a brilliant party, man. I would like to be there. And others where I'm like, I do not need to ever attend this party. Like, and that's the great thing, man. You just never know where it's going to go. And I like to not know where it's going as well. Like, people are like, oh, do you need the answer sent over? I'm like, no. Like, tell me on the pod. Like, let's record it. And then, like, I will find out in the moment. So, yeah, always unexpected.
Amazing. Well, yeah, I'd go and listen to that. Go and check that one out. That sounds great. And it's a good format. You've got yourselves... Yeah, you've got like it's just a great idea. And I think people that probably do loads of podcasts, it might go, oh, another podcast. Actually get that pitch and go, Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to have to tell the same 4 stories
Dude,
again.
that's
I'll just
exactly-
go and have a breath of fresh air.
Exactly what we aimed for. Because people were saying to me for a while, like, oh, you should start a podcast. And I was like, yeah, but I'm like, I don't, like, every presenter's got a podcast. And I'm like, I don't just want to start a podcast for the sake of having one. And I'm like, I want to have something fun with it and something that kind of fits what I'm doing as well. So yeah, we were stoked when we kind of just came up with this idea and we were like, there's no one doing this like this. Yeah, let's do it. Like, this sounds great. So yeah, it's really cool, man. Really, really cool.
Amazing, dude. Thanks so much for your time.
Not at all, man.
And,
Thank you, dude. It's a pleasure, even just to get to chat, man. Like, it's good to catch up. We don't do it enough. So thank you for having me, mate.
Thanks very much, dude. I'm so glad we finally got this episode in the bag.
We did it.
Thank you, dude. We did it, man. Have yourself a good evening. I hope we don't get cut off in a minute.
Thank you, mate. You too.
But yeah, have a good. It's been a real pleasure, man. Thank you so much.